If you were a middle schooler in the mid or late 2000s, chances are you grew up with the Diary of a Wimpy Kid book series. And I am no different. In fact, I have such good memories of this series that recently, on my way to and from work, I've decided to listen to the audiobooks from beginning to end. It's not so bad because they're pretty short reads, never getting longer than 2.5 hours. I've noticed 3 things upon revisiting the series. 1, Ramon Del Campo is a fantastic narrator. I wish he'd do more books. Second, the series kind of loses its luster as it goes on. I'd say the first 5 are really good, and then after that it starts getting a little wackier or cartoonier. To the point where when we get to book 8, it's basically unrecognizable. It goes from this guy living a pretty normal life in a world similar to ours, going through day-to-day experiences, to, whoops, Greg and his family or friends get into wacky hijinks this week, what's gonna happen? That and he doesn't age anymore. So that's strange. And the third and most prominent thing I've noticed about the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series is that everyone in these books are just evil. They're not just bad people, but they're monsters basically. Some worse than others, but everyone seems to be bad. If they have a principal role in any of the books, they're some kind of supervillain. And let me explain how Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a world of evil. We've all seen how Rodrick picks on Greg, so I'm not gonna touch on that one too much, but he shoots Greg in the butt with a paintball gun, makes him think that he missed his whole summer vacation because he slept all the way through it, and a bunch of other stuff from there. Rodrick basically lives to torture Greg. And that's understandable sometimes. I mean, big brothers kinda gotta do that to their little brothers, but Rodrick takes it a step further, going to basically sadistic territory. Not like Greg is any better. There have been so many accounts online of people saying that Greg is gonna be a sociopath, or already is one. And, yeah, I totally believe it. This guy is so self-absorbed, narcissistic to the nth degree. Whenever Rowley gets some new attention, Greg always has to find some way to make it about him. Like when he broke Rowley's hand, he not only didn't feel sorry for Rowley, but he tried to profit off of him. When Rowley got nurse on his career aptitude test and started talking to a bunch of girls, Greg's first thought is, I bet they're all talking about me. When he broke Rowley's toe and had to replace him in Scotty Douglas's Magic Act, he didn't even try to be a serviceable assistant, even though he knew that both Rowley and Scotty were counting on this. I'm really disturbed because the author of these books, Jeff Kinney, says that he based Greg off of how he was at this age. Okay dude, you do you. But it's not just Rodrick and Greg. Everyone else is terrible too. Everyone's always talking about how Greg's a narcissist, Greg's a sociopath, and that's the reason why I didn't talk too much about him. But if you think Greg is bad, look at his little brother, Manny. I'd say Manny is the worst, most evil character in this entire series. This kid is a monster, through and through, and I fear to see what he's gonna be when he becomes Greg or even Rodrick's age. He steals food and possessions from his family, he sells all of Greg's items for only $1 without his permission, and during a blizzard the likes of which the town has never seen before, Manny shuts off the heat and power to every room in the house except for his own, without telling anybody, all because nobody taught him how to tie his shoes. And that's all in one book, Cabin Fever. That's not even accounting for the other things Manny has done. He's so spoiled and entitled that he cries and throws a fit because his mom didn't cut the sandwich the way he liked, so she has to drive all the way over to his preschool to make the extra slice. He destroys Greg's game system by shoving a cookie in the disk drive and then gives him this useless spiked ball as a token of, I guess, remorse? I don't even think Manny really felt all that bad, so I can't even call it that. He calls Greg a ton of names that he doesn't like Ploopy or Bubby, purely to get under his skin, even though he knows that Greg hates it. He'll try to get Greg in trouble for almost no reason. Like, look at the first book. They're playing together on New Year's Eve and Greg convinces Manny that he's got a spider, when in fact it's a ball of thread. Manny swallows it and then freaks out. Sure, he thought it was a spider, but he made Greg look worse by pulling out an orange from the fridge and telling his mom that that was the size of the spider he swallowed. And guess what? The mom believes him. You know why? Because the parents aren't getting off scot-free either. They're the reason why Manny is so terrible. Manny can do no wrong. He's what's called the golden child. Do you guys know what that is? Well, narcissistic and abusive parents tend to pick one child, sometimes purely arbitrarily, sometimes for age or talent or other qualities, and then they make them the favorite. They'll make that kid indestructible. They can never do wrong. They can never be hurt. They are basically the prince, the god. Meanwhile, all the other kids basically get treated like crap. They can never match up to the pure wonderful majesty of the golden child. Manny is Mr. and Mrs. Heffley's golden child. It's never outright stated, but they fawn over Manny like nobody's business. This kid is way too pampered. And when he goes into adult life, he's either not going to be prepared in the slightest, thinking that everyone's going to see him as special, or he's going to end up becoming a total monster behind bars. Let me tell you exactly what I mean. You know all those things I just listed that Manny has done wrong? He didn't get punished for a single one of them, not even yelled at. The closest he got was Mrs. Heffley saying to Manny, "You shouldn't have broken Greg's video game system," and then he makes the spiked tinfoil ball thing. That's the closest he's ever gotten. Meanwhile, Greg can do the exact same things like calling Manny ploopy, and then he gets in trouble. And only when Greg protests saying that Manny did the same thing does Mrs. Heffley back off. She does things like drive over to Manny's preschool to make the extra slice for his sandwich, but she won't do things like let Rodrick have his talent show all to himself. Yeah, this bugged me even when I was younger. She knew that Rodrick and his band, Loaded Diaper, were going to use that talent show performance to send to some record companies and then make it big. However, she had to make it all about herself by running onto the stage and dancing. And when Rodrick confronted her about ruining his chances at getting picked up by a record deal, she said, "Well, you shouldn't play music if you don't want people to dance to it." Now, I don't know about you guys, but this screams r/entitled parents to me. She never, ever treats Greg or Rodrick like she does Manny, even when they were younger. Remember in one of the earlier books, Greg tells us about when he was little and was hiding under the kitchen table, and then his mom decided to mess with him and guilt trip him until he came running, screaming, and crying over to her. Or in book 7, where she takes the pacifier right out of Roderick's mouth and gives it to Greg without a second thought. When would she ever do that to Manny? She wouldn't. Manny is her favorite. Undisputably, undeniably. And don't think the dad gets off scot-free either. He's totally an enabler. Sure, he does follow this, although not as much as Mrs. Heffley, but what he does do is not stand up for the boys. He's actually really distant from them. He doesn't appreciate any of their interests, he doesn't let them do any of their hobbies, and they all have to abide by his view of what their future should be. It's one thing for a parent to want their kids to get more active or to do better in school, but to chastise them for wanting to play music or having an interest in video games, that's a bit too far. Mr. Heffley basically wants his sons to turn out an exact way, and it seems like Manny's the only one that's gonna turn out that way, being a criminal, I guess, so he's gonna treat him with all the love and respect he can while giving Greg and Rodrick the cold shoulder, and never standing up to his wife when she's treating Manny like the chosen one. And I know what you're thinking, surely Rowley is a good guy, right? This awesome, friendly kid, happy-go-lucky, skip-happy Rowley? He's gotta be a swell dude. Nope, Rowley is not much better than his best friend. Rowley is a kid at heart, so he likes a lot of child things like kids' TV shows or going to karate class with a bunch of first graders or playing with Dino Blazers action figures. But that's not the extent of it. Rowley is also a child in the head. Whenever something doesn't go his way, he gets all petulant and whiny and very self-absorbed, almost to Greg's levels. When he and Greg were writing out a Mad Lib story, he got so spiteful and indignant that it was volleyball instead of volleyball that Greg ended up getting so sick of him that he tried to get Rowley to play hide and seek with him, basically meaning having Rowley hide in the closet or behind a desk while Greg does his own thing. And even when he was proven wrong several times, he kept stamping his feet and saying that everything was against him. He's still right. He wins. This isn't a new addition either. This happened in the very first book as well. Zooey Mama has kind of become a meme, it seems, and for obvious reasons. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, and it's got a lot of potential. Well, for those who don't remember, Greg came up with this idea and then ended up giving it to Rowley. However, Rowley ended up running with the idea, and when Greg confronted him saying that he wanted some credit, especially because he came up with the idea in the first place, Rowley got so angry and insisted over and over that not only did he create the idea of Zooey Mama, but Greg had nothing to do with it. Wasn't even there. It goes way more than just entitlement too. He's also an absolute child when it comes to fear. In Double Down, or as I like to call it, the most pointless Diary of a Wimpy Kid book ever written, he's afraid of gummy worms. Not because he thinks they're snakes like DJ from Total Drama, he's just afraid of them. When he and Greg are writing their terrible script, he's all of a sudden terrified of these gummy worms because, ooh, they're monsters, I guess. He's also afraid of a story about a little kitten going into a haunted house. Yeah, I thought that one was a little bit too far. Flanderization really hit the series hard, but that's a story for another day. And I'll tell you why Rowley's like this. It's because of his parents. Rowley is basically a look into the future for Manny. This is what Manny's gonna grow up to be, albeit with less sociopathy. The Jeffersons, Rowley's parents, always treat Rowley like a little kid. They baby him, they build him up no matter what. They don't prepare him for life's hardships or difficulties in the slightest. They make Rowley stay permanently 7 years old. Maybe it's for control, maybe it's because they wanted more kids and they can't have them, so they want Rowley to stay little forever. I don't know. But this kid is not shaping up to be a functioning adult. Sure, a lot of people may think he's cute or adorable at the time, but wait till he still acts like this when he's in college. He's gonna have panic attack after panic attack because he's not ready for adult life. Middle school isn't exactly adulthood. This is the transition phase. The part where, as Greg would say, all the adults shove you into school for 3 years so they don't have to look at you during those awkward years. But Rowley isn't growing up at all. He's not even making the effort. In fact, his parents are basically blocking him. Even Greg, self-centered, irresponsible, knows nothing about the world Greg, knows that Rowley is not going to grow up to have a good future. In the 4th book, he mentions that without his parents, Rowley's going to fail in life. No matter what he picks as a career, no matter where he goes, he can't be stable unless he grows up. And if Greg knows this about you, you're doing something wrong. I could touch on a lot of other side characters that have only appeared for 1 or 2 books, but I think I've gone on long enough. As you can see here, I don't know what it is, but the characters in Diary of a Wimpy Kid are just so nasty and evil. Everyone's got their own agendas or misshapen views of the world, and they clash with each other. It's almost like Meet the Feebles, where in that one, there's a couple good characters but a whole bunch of nasty people, and the whole point of the movie is to watch them go at it. Well, this is Meet the Feebles for kids, but take away all the good characters. So that's why I have to say that, even though I do like the early parts of the series, Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a world of evil. Well folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think of it? Have you ever noticed this before, or is it just me? Comment below and let me know because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.